Most people think John D. Rockefeller became rich because he entered the oil business at the perfect time. They believe he got lucky, lucky timing, lucky industry, lucky opportunities. But that is not what actually happened, because long before Rockefeller built Standard Oil, long before he controlled one of the most powerful business empires in history, long before his name became synonymous with wealth, he had already discovered something that most people never understand: a method. A way of thinking about money that gave him an enormous advantage over everyone around him. And this method had nothing to do with oil, nothing to do with fame, nothing to do with power. It began much earlier, when Rockefeller was just a young man with almost nothing. No empire, no fortune, no influence. Just discipline, patience, and a radically different mindset. That mindset is what built his first fortune. And once you understand how Rockefeller made his first serious capital,
you begin to realize something extraordinary. His wealth was never accidental. It was engineered, calculated, built piece by piece through decisions that looked small in the moment, but became massive over time. This is what makes Rockefeller so important to study, because most people look at wealthy individuals and focus on the visible outcome, the mansion, the empire, the billions. But the real secret is almost always hidden in the beginning. In the first decisions, in the first habits, in the first systems. Because if you can understand how someone builds their first capital, you understand the foundation behind everything that follows. And Rockefeller's foundation was unlike almost anyone else. You see, most young men in 19th century America dreamed of making money fast. They chased opportunities, speculation, short-term wins, quick profits. Rockefeller thought differently. Even as a teenager, he behaved more like a disciplined investor than an ordinary young man.
While others spent impulsively, Rockefeller tracked every cent, every dollar earned, every dollar spent, every dollar saved. He kept detailed financial records in notebooks, not because he was rich, because he wanted to understand money. That distinction matters. Most people want money. Very few actually study money. Rockefeller studied it obsessively. He wanted to know where it came from, where it went, how it multiplied, how it disappeared, how it flowed. And this obsession became the foundation of everything. At age 16, Rockefeller got his first serious job as an assistant bookkeeper. Most people would see bookkeeping as boring. Rockefeller saw something completely different. He saw a secret education. Every ledger told a story. Every balance sheet revealed truth. Every transaction exposed patterns. While others worked for wages, Rockefeller was learning how business actually functioned. He was learning the language of capital. This was the first part of his secret method.
Lesson 1. Master the flow of money before trying to make more of it. This is where most people fail. They obsess over increasing income, getting richer, earning more, making bigger moves. But they have no real understanding of money flow, no understanding of cash flow, no understanding of leverage, no understanding of allocation. Rockefeller understood something profound. Money rewards people who understand its movement, not just its existence. Think about this. Two people can earn the exact same amount of money. One becomes wealthy, the other stays financially trapped. Why? Because earning money and controlling money are completely different skills. Rockefeller mastered control first, before oil, before business, before empire. He mastered control. He knew exactly where his money was going, exactly what his resources were doing, exactly what numbers mattered. That level of awareness created clarity, and clarity creates power. Today, most people operate financially in confusion.
They guess, they estimate, they react emotionally, they hope things work out. Rockefeller would never accept that. He believed precision creates advantage. Because when you understand numbers deeply, decisions become easier, opportunities become clearer, mistakes become visible earlier. And this gave him an enormous advantage, even before wealth arrived, because wealth tends to flow toward those who can manage it well. That was Rockefeller's first secret. Not making money, understanding money. And that brings us to the second part of his method, the part that changed his life forever. Lesson 2. Save capital aggressively so opportunity can find you. This principle is simple, but extremely difficult, because it requires sacrificing immediate pleasure for future power. Most people spend according to emotion. They earn more, then spend more. They justify consumption as success. Rockefeller behaved differently. He saved aggressively, relentlessly, patiently.
And this gave him something most people underestimate: optionality. This is one of the hidden superpowers of capital. Money gives you options, not just possessions. Options. The ability to move when opportunities appear. The ability to invest when others cannot. The ability to act without desperation. This is exactly what happened with Rockefeller, because when opportunities appeared in business, he was prepared. Not because he predicted everything, because he built reserves, he had discipline, he had capital, he had patience. And when opportunity finally came, he was ready to move decisively. This is something modern culture constantly misunderstands. People treat saving as passive, as boring, as defensive. But strategic saving is offensive. Strategic saving builds power, because capital gives you leverage, and leverage changes everything. Without capital, opportunities become stressful. With capital, opportunities become strategic. Rockefeller understood this deeply.
That is why, while others chased appearance, he quietly built financial strength. And this brings us to the real turning point, the moment Rockefeller stopped thinking like an employee and started thinking like a future empire builder. The moment he discovered the principle that truly accelerated his first fortune. The principle that separated him from nearly everyone around him. Lesson 3. Do not chase money. Chase inefficiency. Lesson 3. Do not chase money. Chase inefficiency. This was the principle that changed everything for Rockefeller, and this is where his thinking became truly extraordinary. Most people look at business and ask one question: where is the money? Rockefeller asks a better question: where is the inefficiency? That single shift in thinking gave him an enormous advantage, because money is often hidden inside inefficiency, inside waste, inside disorder, inside chaos. Where most people saw problems, Rockefeller saw opportunity.
And that is exactly what happened when he entered the oil business. In the 1860s, the oil industry was exploding. Oil discoveries had triggered a frenzy. Everyone wanted in. New companies appeared overnight. Speculators rushed into the market. Money was moving fast. From the outside, it looked like a gold rush. But Rockefeller saw something deeper. He saw chaos. The industry was wildly inefficient. Operations were messy. Costs were high. Transportation was expensive. Waste was everywhere. Most people saw oil as the opportunity. Rockefeller saw inefficiency as the opportunity. That difference changed history. While everyone rushed to extract value quickly, Rockefeller focused on building systems that eliminated waste and increased efficiency. This sounds simple, but it is one of the most powerful wealth principles ever. Because extraordinary wealth often comes from solving expensive inefficiencies. Look at nearly every major fortune. They didn't just chase money. They identified something broken, something inefficient, something expensive. Then they solved it better than everyone else. Rockefeller mastered this. When he entered refining, he became obsessed with operational efficiency. He studied every process, every cost, every leak, every unnecessary expense. He wanted maximum efficiency at every level. And unlike his competitors, he understood that small improvements compound. A tiny cost reduction repeated at scale becomes enormous. A small operational advantage repeated thousands of times becomes dominance. This is how Rockefeller thought. Not emotionally, systemically, strategically. This mindset separated him immediately. While others focused on rapid profits, Rockefeller focused on sustainable advantage. And advantage compounds. That is the key. Most people chase immediate gains. The wealthy chase compounding advantages. There is a huge difference. Imagine two businesses. The first makes big short-term profits. The second builds slightly better systems every year. At first, the first business looks more impressive, but over time, the second business becomes unstoppable because advantages stack, efficiency stacks, leverage stacks, momentum stacks. This is exactly how Rockefeller built his first serious fortune. Not through hype, not through speculation, through relentless optimization. And this leads to the fourth lesson, the lesson that transformed Rockefeller from successful to dominant. Lesson 4. Negotiate from strength, never from need. This principle explains why Rockefeller kept winning, because he understood something that most people never fully grasp. Desperation destroys leverage. Need weakens position. Emotion destroys negotiation. The strongest position in business is simple: the ability to walk away. Rockefeller knew this because he built discipline before opportunity, capital before expansion, patience before negotiation. That meant he rarely negotiated from weakness. And this gave him extraordinary power. Take transportation, for example. In Rockefeller's era, railroads were essential. Oil had to move. Transportation costs mattered enormously. Most refiners simply accepted whatever terms railroads offered. Rockefeller did not. He negotiated aggressively, strategically, calmly. He secured better deals, better rates, better terms. This created another compounding advantage. Even small transportation savings multiplied across enormous volume. Again, small edge, massive long-term outcome. This principle extends far beyond business. It applies to everything: investments, career, sales, partnerships, life. People make terrible decisions when they operate from desperation. They accept bad deals, bad opportunities, bad partnerships, bad timing. Why? Because need creates emotional pressure. Pressure creates poor judgment. Rockefeller hated emotional decision-making. He preferred patience, calculation, preparation. Because preparation creates strength.
And strength improves negotiation. This is why financial discipline matters so much. Money in reserve creates psychological strength. It gives you room to think clearly. It gives you room to wait. It gives you room to say no. And saying no is powerful, very powerful. Because every strong opportunity requires rejecting weaker ones. Rockefeller understood this deeply. He was willing to wait, willing to walk away, willing to let others act emotionally. And eventually, that patience gave him better opportunities, again and again. This is one of the hidden truths about wealth. The wealthy often win because they avoid bad decisions, not just because they make brilliant ones. Avoiding bad moves matters enormously. One terrible decision can destroy years of progress. Rockefeller understood this. He protected capital, protected leverage, protected optionality. And because of that, he kept moving from stronger and stronger positions. Which brings us to the fifth and final lesson. Perhaps the most important lesson of all. The principle that turned Rockefeller's first capital into the foundation of an empire. Lesson 5. Reinvest until momentum becomes unstoppable. This is where Rockefeller separated himself completely. Because most people misunderstand profit. They treat profit as reward. Rockefeller treated profit as fuel. This difference changes everything. Most people earn money, then consume it. Upgrade lifestyle, increase spending, buy status, celebrate success through consumption. Rockefeller did the opposite. He reinvested relentlessly. Profits were not trophies, profits were ammunition. Every dollar could build more capacity, more efficiency, more leverage, more growth. This is where wealth truly begins, when capital starts multiplying capital. And this is something very few people fully appreciate. Because compounding feels slow in the beginning, almost invisible. Nothing dramatic, nothing exciting, nothing glamorous. But then momentum starts building. And once momentum builds, everything accelerates. This is what Rockefeller understood. His first capital wasn't valuable because of the amount itself. It was valuable because of what it allowed him to build next, and then next, and then next. That is the true secret. The first fortune is rarely the goal. The first fortune is the engine, the foundation, the starting point. Rockefeller understood that better than almost anyone. He knew that once momentum begins, growth becomes easier. Systems become stronger, leverage becomes greater, opportunities become larger. And this is where most people make their biggest mistake. They interrupt compounding right when it starts working. They consume too early, celebrate too early, slow down too early. Rockefeller never made that mistake. He kept reinvesting, kept optimizing, kept compounding, until momentum became nearly impossible to stop. And that is exactly where the real story begins.
Because Rockefeller's first capital was never just about money. It was proof that his method worked, proof that his thinking was correct, proof that wealth could be engineered. And once he had that proof, everything changed. Everything changed, because now Rockefeller no longer saw money the way ordinary people did. He no longer saw money as something to spend. He saw it as something to control, something to multiply, something to deploy strategically. And that shift changed the trajectory of his entire life. This is the part most people never understand. They look at Rockefeller and only see the outcome, the empire, the fortune, the influence, the power. But extraordinary wealth is rarely built at the top. It is built in the beginning, in the invisible years, the years nobody talks about, the years that look boring from the outside, the years where discipline matters more than status, where patience matters more than recognition, where systems matter more than appearances.
That is where Rockefeller won. Long before the empire, long before Standard Oil, long before the world knew his name, he had already built the mindset required for wealth. And this is the real secret. Rockefeller's first fortune was not created in oil. It was created in his mind. Oil simply amplified what already existed. This is why studying Rockefeller matters, because industries change, technology changes, markets change, but wealth principles remain surprisingly consistent. The tools evolve, the game evolves, but the rules remain remarkably familiar. And Rockefeller's secret method can be summarized in 5 principles. Master the flow of money before trying to make more of it, because money rewards control, not chaos. Save capital aggressively so opportunity can find you, because capital creates leverage, and leverage creates power. Do not chase money, chase inefficiency, because hidden inside inefficiency is opportunity. Negotiate from strength, never from need.
Because desperation weakens judgment. Strength creates options, and options create freedom. Reinvest until momentum becomes unstoppable, because wealth compounds for those who stay patient long enough. 5 principles, simple to understand, difficult to master, but incredibly powerful. And here is the uncomfortable truth. Most people never apply them. Why? Because these principles require something rare: discipline. Real discipline. Not motivation, not excitement. Discipline. The discipline to think clearly when others panic. The discipline to save when others spend. The discipline to build when others consume. The discipline to think long-term when everyone around you thinks short-term. That is what separated Rockefeller. Not luck, not magic, not hidden secrets available only to elites. Discipline, applied consistently over time. And that is why so few people ever build real wealth. Because most people want results without transformation.
They want wealth without changing the mindset that keeps them poor. They want freedom without building the systems that create freedom. And that never works. Because wealth is not just about money. Wealth is a reflection of behavior, a reflection of decisions, a reflection of patterns repeated over time. Your financial future is shaped less by one big decision and more by hundreds of small ones. How you think, how you save, how you invest, how you react, how you build. Those small decisions compound, quietly, daily, almost invisibly, until one day the results become impossible to ignore. This is how Rockefeller built his first fortune: quietly, strategically, patiently, then relentlessly. And this reveals something important. Your first capital matters, not because of the number, but because of what it proves. It proves you can create. It proves you can build. It proves you can delay gratification. It proves you can think differently.
It proves you can operate beyond the average mindset. That proof changes everything. Because once you build capital once, you stop seeing wealth as something mysterious. You stop seeing it as luck. You stop seeing it as something reserved for other people. You begin to understand that wealth follows principles, predictable principles, timeless principles. That is when the game changes. Because from that point forward, you stop asking the wrong questions. You stop asking, how do I get rich fast? How do I make easy money? What is the quickest path? And instead, you start asking better questions. How do I create value? How do I build leverage? How do I compound capital?
How do I create systems? How do I position myself for long-term advantage? Those are the questions wealth builders ask. Rockefeller understood this. The greatest empire builders always do. And now, the same question applies to you. Are you consuming or building? Are you spending or compounding?
Are you reacting or positioning? Because whether you realize it or not, you are already building something. The only question is what? You are building habits. You are building patterns. You are building a future. Every decision matters. Every year matters. Every repeated action matters. The future belongs to those who understand this, to those who think differently, to those who build patiently, to those who remain disciplined while others remain distracted. Because the truth is simple. Wealth rarely arrives dramatically. It arrives quietly, through leverage, through patience, through discipline, through compounding. Then, suddenly. And that was Rockefeller's secret method. Not chasing money, building systems that made money flow toward him. That is how he built his first fortune. And that is how empires begin.